Good evening. I'm Trent Stamp, Executive Director of the Eisner Foundation, this year's sponsor of the Purpose Prize for Intergenerational Impact. At the Eisner Foundation, under the leadership of our founders, Michael and Jane Eisner and their son Anders, who are here tonight, we attempt to provide access and opportunity for the disadvantaged children of Southern California and to give those kids the chance to dream. But for too many emotionally and physically vulnerable children, the dream can become a nightmare, filled with loss, anxiety, and fear. This psychological trauma can extend into their daily lives, affecting how they learn, how they express their emotions, and how they interact with the other people in their lives. And as we have seen many times in our work, children who bear the burden of poverty struggle more than other children do and more than any child ever should. Dr. Pamela Cantor's Turnaround for Children offers the schools that serve these children the help they need and deserve, reaching tens of thousands of teachers, staff, and kids in 86 schools since Turnaround was first created in 2002. Grounded in proven brain science, Dr. Cantor's work is on a path to transform public education, and her unwavering commitment to improving the lives of children inspires us all to do more. It is a great honor to give Dr. Cantor today the Eisner Foundation's Purpose Prize for Intergenerational Impact. But first, we need to watch a short film.
Imagine walking into a school with more kids in the halls than in the classrooms, teachers who were cowering, a principal who was afraid to go out of her office, and I'll never forget a mom holding the hand of a 5-year-old little girl, thinking to myself, would I ever leave my child in an environment that looked like this? Turnaround for Children is focused on the profound challenges to learning in our high-poverty, underperforming schools. Poverty is a trauma in children's lives, and it has very, very specific effects on the way they learn and the way they behave. At Turnaround, we've created a way of thinking about schools through the lens of stress.
Hi, how are you?
Most of you know, part of my life is that I knew trauma as a child. And over 22 years in practice, I worked with kids who had known trauma. I'm a physician by background. When I practiced as a doctor, I was never in over my head. But when you look at what's going on in our schools, this is not how teachers feel.
We see students that are not able to focus, that are sometimes just exploding, and you don't really know why.
The impact of stress on the developing brain produces that fight or flight feeling, and it means that they come into school not calm, not ready for learning. The aha moment for me was realizing that I did have tools that could get one child well, but what I didn't have was a picture of how you would scale knowledge like that so that every child in this school would get what they needed. We provide supports to kids with intense needs. We train every teacher in the building with a set of tools and strategies so that they can run highly effective classrooms.
I feel like Dr. Cantor motivates us. Hearing her talk about it and this love and this passion that she has for supporting students, it makes us want to go out and do that work even more.
When I was a doctor working with one child, I was unstoppable. It's been a very, very different thing in this second chapter of my life to realize that I was never trained to run an organization. So I guess it's a bit of a mixture of being courageous, but also being a learner. This is the set of challenges that we're unraveling, and there isn't a recipe book. We're making the book. I'm Dr. Pamela Cantor, and this is my encore.
To receive the Eisner Foundation's Purpose Prize for Intergenerational Impact, please join me in welcoming Dr. Pamela Cantor to the stage.
Thank you so much for honoring me and the work of Turnaround for Children with the Purpose Prize. And thank you especially for the meaning of this prize. It's a prize that honors the dedication to one idea over a whole life, lived in 2 chapters. In particular, a very special thank you to Michael and Jane Eisner and to their family for making this issue visible to all of us. Here's why. Today, across this country, there are tens of thousands of kids who are in high poverty communities and are not getting anywhere close to the opportunity of an American dream. The schools they attend are letting them down and steal that opportunity from them. In the life I had as a doctor, I saw children who had known unspeakable trauma. But it became clear to me that independent of what happened to them, they often had many things in common. They couldn't trust, they couldn't connect, their reactions to things were extreme, and they all had problems in school. What was going on? In our schools, it's much the same thing. And the science that we understand today about stress explains this. Did you know that we are the only mammal on the planet whose thinking and feeling and learning brain develops after we're born? Relationships and environment actually shape the human brain. If those environments are good, then a child's brain develops that's productive and disciplined and caring. But when children grow up in environments that are filled with stress, like the stress of homelessness or exposure to violence or hunger, and with few adults to buffer that stress, something else happens. Chemicals flood the brain, cortisol, and it produces that fight or flight feeling, that thumping, the sweaty palms. Under those circumstances, it's hard to think, much less learn. And if you have a few kids like this under stress in a classroom, it can shut the classroom down. And in a school with 400, 500, 600 kids, it can shut the entire school down. What I'm most wanting you to understand is that adversity doesn't happen to children. It happens inside of children. The connection between poverty and performance lies right here. That when we speak about our struggling, high-poverty schools, what we're really looking at is the impact of stress on the developing brain and what that means for teaching and for the process of learning itself. Turnaround for Children's mission, my mission, the thing that I want to carry into the world, is a message that adversity matters and that learning is a brain function and that we can't ignore the connection between these two things, or we will do so at the peril of our country. But here's what's so powerful and what's so positive in the science, that knowing what stress does to the developing brain, knowing that children's brains are malleable into adulthood, and knowing that they will respond for good or bad to the environments we put them in, all of this tells us that what could potentially crack the code of struggling schools is the deliberate design, grounded in the science, of a teaching and learning environment, an environment fortified to reduce stress, to build readiness, and to promote academic as well as social and emotional growth. An environment powerful enough to correct for the stress of poverty, not fix it, not ignore it, correct for it. Can you imagine what it would mean to struggling schools across America if they knew how to correct for the stress of poverty? What would that mean? So whether you are drawn to this issue by the urgency of transforming struggling schools, because we have diminishing economic competitiveness, because we have a threat to global security, because we have a workforce that we have to build, or whether you share my fury at the unfairness of this. But in honoring me, you are lifting up the idea that each child's life and their education are important, and that their destiny should not be determined by their race or their zip code. My story and my encore from the beginning were compelled by the meaning of fairness, and you have honored that tonight. Thank you so much.